Hello, dear students. How are you? Welcome in our most popular, most favorite YouTube channel, Physics Make It Simple by Rajendra Kobarne from Padmasri Vikhe Patil Junior College, Pravaranagar. As long as the 11th Science chapter Electromagnetic Waves and Communication System is concerned, this is a lecture number 4, and in this lecture we have to discuss about electromagnetic spectrum. You might have puzzling the word spectrum. Here spectrum is nothing but only the systematic and sequential arrangement of electromagnetic waves. Listen carefully. What is electromagnetic spectrum? We will prepare a definition at first. It is a systematic arrangement. It is a sequential arrangement. Consulting what? Consulting their wavelengths, consulting their frequencies in the form of distinct groups. In the form of distinct groups, and each groups have different properties. That is called as electromagnetic spectrum. Mind well, electromagnetic spectrum is nothing but only the arrangement. That arrangement is sequential. Sequential arrangement of electromagnetic waves consulting with what? Consulting with their wavelengths or frequencies in the form of distinct groups of different properties. That arrangement of electromagnetic waves, dear student, we call it as electromagnetic spectrum. So, to prepare a systematic and sequential arrangement of all electromagnetic waves, we will have to remember one sentence. We know it as a teaching module. That sentence I have already written on the board. That sentence is what? Rich man in London uses X-ray gun. Rich. See here, rich. Rich man in London uses X-ray gun. R. R stands for radio waves. Man stands for microwaves. I stands for infrared rays. L stands for light, and that light is visible. U stands for ultraviolet rays. X stands for X-rays. Gun G stands for gamma rays. In this way, that all electromagnetic waves are systematically and sequentially arranged. By making use of a sentence, rich man in London uses X-ray gun. By making use of this sentence, that all electromagnetic waves are sequentially arranged, we call it as electromagnetic spectrum. This arrangement is what? It is a sequential arrangement of electromagnetic waves with increasing frequency from LHS to RHS. It clearly indicates that frequency of gamma rays is maximum. So energy of gamma ray is maximum, because we know E is equal to h nu. H is constant. Frequency nu is larger. So energy of gamma rays is maximum. Energy of radio waves is minimum. E is equal to h nu, because frequency of the radio wave is least, minimum of all, and so that its energy is minimum. So this all electromagnetic waves are systematically and sequentially arranged with increasing frequency from LHS to RHS. We know C is equal to nu lambda. I will write here. C is equal to nu lambda. C is equal to nu lambda, where nu is the frequency of electromagnetic wave, lambda is wavelength of wave, C is velocity of electromagnetic wave in vacuum, or so called as velocity of light in vacuum, which is equal to 3 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. That C is constant. So from this we can write like this. Nu is equal to C upon lambda. This C is constant. This may be written as nu is inversely proportional to lambda. It clearly indicates that frequency and wavelength of electromagnetic wave is inversely proportional to each other. Larger the frequency, smaller is the wavelength. Smaller the frequency, larger is the wavelength. We have arranged systematically, sequentially, that all electromagnetic waves with increasing frequency from LHS to RHS. That means frequency of the radio waves is smaller. It clearly indicates that wavelength of radio waves is maximum of all. Those have least frequency, its wavelength is maximum. Remember well, dear students, those have least frequency, its wavelength is maximum. So we can arrange that electromagnetic waves in different form by making use of this sentence. Get XUV. XUV is the name of a car. Get XUV in market rate. G, gamma rays. Write down gamma rays here. Then X-rays, then ultraviolet rays, then visible light, then infrared rays, microwaves, and then radio waves. That means gamma rays, instead of writing here, it come here. That means that systematic arrangement is nothing but that all electromagnetic waves are arranged by increasing wavelength from LHS to RHS. Remember well, dear students. So this is called as electromagnetic spectrum. So after learning this electromagnetic spectrum, take a screenshot at first and then we proceed further. Take a screenshot. That I have already told you that by making use of the sentence, rich man in London uses X-ray gun. Instead of making use of this sentence, if we use the sentence, get XUV in market rate, then gamma rays comes first and radio waves comes last. This is also an arrangement of increasing wavelength. This is the arrangement on the board of increasing frequency from LHS to RHS. That is called as electromagnetic spectrum. So I will repeat the definition again. A sequential and systematic arrangement of all electromagnetic waves, consulting what? Consulting their wavelengths or frequencies in the form of distinct groups. This is first group, second group, third group, fourth group, like this, having different properties. Each group has different properties. Each group has different uses. That is called as electromagnetic spectrum. Then now we will prepare a table, that wavelength range of wavelength of each electromagnetic wave. How that table is to be remembered? This is also a very funny and interesting logic to understand, to remember how the range of wavelength is to be remembered. Let me clean the board at first, then we proceed further. See here, we can prepare a table of range of wavelengths of each electromagnetic waves. How we can remember it? How we can remember it? So draw a table like this. Draw a table like this. This is a table. We can prepare a table like this. And we can write all electromagnetic waves sequentially with increasing frequency like this. See here. This is a table. This is a table. Okay. Okay. Here what? Electromagnetic waves. Here range of wavelength. Okay. Reach man. We can write reach man. What we can write? Reach radio waves. Radio waves. Man microwaves. In infrared rays. Infrared rays. Infrared rays. Then L, light. But that light is what? Visible light. Visible light. Visible light. Then U is what? Ultraviolet rays. Ultraviolet rays. What is X? X-ray. That come as it is. The X-ray, the word already come here. Then G, gun. Gamma rays. Gamma rays. Remember well, all these electromagnetic waves are arranged with increasing frequency, or it may be called as by decreasing wavelength. So remember the wavelength of visible light at first. The wavelength of visible light is what here? 7000 nanometer to, sorry, not 7000, 700 nanometer to 400 nanometer. Then write this 400 nanometer here. 400 nanometer to 1 nanometer. Write down this 1 nanometer here. This 1 nanometer here. 1 nanometer to 10 raised to minus 3 nanometer. And then we can write here the wavelength of gamma ray is less than 10 raised to minus 3 nanometer. I will repeat again. 700 nanometer to 400 nanometer. Write down this 400 nanometer here. 400 nanometer to 1 nanometer. Write down this 1 nanometer here. 1 nanometer to 10 raised to minus 3 nanometer. And write this 10 raised to minus 3 nanometer by making use of this sign. It clearly indicates that wavelength of gamma ray is less than 10 raised to minus 3 nanometer. Okay. Then we can write this 700 nanometer here. 700 nanometer. We can write here 1 millimeter. Write down this 1 millimeter here. 1 millimeter. 0.1 meter like this. And write down 0.1 meter here. That means what? Wavelength of radio waves is so much greater than 0.1 meter. In this way, the ranges of the wavelengths we can remember by making use of a typical clue. In this way, today we have learned what is electromagnetic spectrum. Don't bother. Electromagnetic spectrum is nothing but the sequential and systematic arrangement of what? Electromagnetic waves. Consulting what? Consulting their wavelengths, consulting their frequencies to form what? To form distinct groups of different properties, different uses. We call it as electromagnetic spectrum. Very simple definition. Understand it well at first. A sequential and systematic arrangement of electromagnetic waves consulting either frequencies or wavelengths in the form of distinct groups. In the form of distinct groups of different properties and uses. This is called as electromagnetic spectrum. And to remember electromagnetic spectrum, we have to remember two sentences. Out of that, we use the sentence, rich man in London uses X-ray gun. We can use this sentence also, get XUV. Get XUV. XUV is a car, famous car. Get XUV in market rate. So gamma rays first. Gamma ray comes first. In this sentence, radio waves come first. In this sentence, gamma rays come first. In this way, you can arrange the systematically either by making use of rich man in London uses X-ray gun, or by making use of a funny sentence, get XUV in market rate. Okay, we will stop here. Be remain alert. Be continue my lecture. Listen all lectures carefully. That makes your physics very simple. Up to this we will stop here and we'll meet again for the next lecture. Okay, goodbye.